Hello you guys, it's Karen and I am here to talk cruelty-free foundations as I promised. I have got 5 favourites and I've also got some fails that I'm going to show you that I recently bought and showed you on Instagram and whatnot, so I thought I'd give you an update on them. What I'm going to tell you, I have got my notes, which is why I'm looking down, is if there's any ingredients that you need to know about, the colour range, the coverage, the cost, what the general reviews are, and of course my notes on them. My favourite type of foundation, so you guys know, is a matte foundation that is medium to full coverage, that doesn't sink into my lines and that doesn't look cakey and that lasts, because I've found a lot of foundations don't last at all on me. So most of these are matte and full coverage, but not all. There is a couple that don't need to be so matte, and there's also a couple that don't need to be so full coverage. I've got foundations here that are high-end and also some that are drugstore, so there should be something for everybody here. I'm going to start with the most expensive, and it is my newest foundation actually. It's the Mercier Silk Cream Oil-Free Photo Edition Foundation, because this is the one I'm wearing today and I have it on in 3C1 June. It's the only time I've ever chosen foundation, I think, online that I have no idea. I've never used a foundation by Mercier that I can remember, and I didn't have a clue what my colouring was. I went for this colour simply because it was on sale, because this costs £36 normally, and this colour in particular was on sale for £21.60. I mean, I had a quick look on Google to see if I could see, you know, I wasn't going to buy something that was way too dark, but I wasn't sure about this. So I got this one and it works for me on day 1 and 2 of my self-tan. So I put my self-tan on last night so I could wear this today and tomorrow and possibly the following day as well. And so I love this. I absolutely adore it. Let me give you the details on it. So it's £36. The coverage is, I would say, full, but it's one of those that it's not really thick. It doesn't feel full, you know. You put a bit on your brush. This morning I put a little tiny bit on my brush, and the intention was to just do the middle part of my face. I thought I'm just going to put it across my face and blend it, because my husband was nearly home with Watson and I needed to give him drugs and whatnot, and so I put it on, but then I was like, oh no, this is easily enough for the whole of my face, and then I used my beauty blender to blend it in. So definitely full coverage. There's about 10-15 shades here, 10 on some websites and 15 on the Mercier website. Skin type, I would say this is for, you could get this for both skin types, because there's actually 2 versions of this one. There's the oil-free one and there's the moisturising one, and I would like to try the moisturising one, and there's actually a big reason ingredient-wise why I'd prefer the moisturising one. So I might try and get a sample of that. The ingredients. It's got silicone in it, so some people might not like that. I can't think that there's any of these that don't have silicone in, to be honest with you. But there's no perfume, no alcohol. The ingredient that bothers me in this is retinol palmitate. I've talked about that before, in that there is evidence to show that in the sun it can cause bad reactions. So I don't want retinol palmitate in something where I'm going to be exposed to UV light. With it being in foundation, it's not quite as bad, because you know, it's the idea of foundation is it sits on top of your skin and it's on top of your skincare, etc. But it's still going to react, and so that's why I would want to go for the moisturising one, because the moisturising one doesn't have retinol palmitate in it, strangely. So I'm going to try and get a sample of that and see what I think. I'm wearing this one today because I have no intention of leaving the house, apart from maybe to go to the gym, in which case I will get straight into my car in the car park and then out into the car park at the other end. The reviews on this one are really good. Everybody seems to love it. When I put this on Instagram, everybody said how much they loved it, and yeah, the reviews do seem to be really good, so it does seem to be a popular one. And this isn't new by any means. This is quite an old foundation, and I remember people always talking about it. For some reason I thought it was really thick. I think because they called it Silk Cream, I expected it to be a sort of moussey, thicker foundation, and it's not at all. So yes, that one is a winner, but it is pricey. I will definitely be getting a sample, and if I do buy the moisturising one, it will be in a lighter colour, and it would be one that I would definitely only say for best year. It wouldn't be an everyday foundation for me. Show you what it's like, because I haven't got, oops, you can see how runny that is, that Mercier one is. I haven't got videos of me putting each of these on, unfortunately, because I could do that, but I kept on forgetting, and then, you know, it will take another week before this was ready. So you can see how thin that is. Number 2 is Bare Minerals. You guys know I have loved this one for a long time. It's a Bare Minerals Bare Pro Performance Wear Liquid Foundation. I have got this in 3 colours. I ended up buying 3 bottles of it. I loved it that much. I was like, this is my holy grail foundation. This is what I'm going to wear when I'm tanned, when I'm not tanned, and everything in between. This one is also expensive. It's £31. It's full coverage as well. I think you could probably, if you used a really damp beauty blender and blended it, you could probably get just medium coverage from this, because again, it is quite thin. So I'm going to do swatches of all the colours for you, because I might as well, and actually I'll show you that coming out. That one is 05 Sateen. It'd be interesting to see them together, actually. I don't think I've ever done this. This is 06. I want you to see what it's like. You can see that it's really runny. It's running down there. That's 06. I think it's called Dawn. No, Cashmere. 06 Cashmere. Then, what's that one? Oh, 07 Warm Light. Again, you can see the consistency of it there, nice and thin. But see, to me, that I think the reason I've got 4 of these, Kev definitely bought me one, but I think I bought one the next number up thinking that that would work, you know, that would be darker or lighter or whatever, and it doesn't seem to work like that, because you can see that one is actually, to me it looks lighter than these 2, but it actually should be darker. And then Bare Pro 09 is in a little, I decanted it, and I think I've actually used this one. I don't think I've got the bottle for this one. They're actually all fairly similar colours, you know, there's nothing that's hugely different. They're just, that one is the one, Bare Pro 09 is the one that I think used the most when I've got a tan on my face, which is a lot of the time. And then I think this one, I don't love the colour of it. That's the 05. So that's the colours there. Just so you can see, get an idea of, really I wanted to do the swatches so you could get an idea of the texture of the foundation. Being as I had those 4 colours, I thought it would be useful for you to see them. So the price is £31, the coverage is full, there's no alcohol or fragrance in the ingredients, nothing really of note in the ingredients. There's 40 shades in the Bare Minerals, which I think is really good, so quite a lot of choice. A skin type, I would say normal to dry for this, and maybe slightly oily, because I did have a bit of oily skin when I started using these. But also dry, as it's not a real, it does dry quickly, but it's not a real mattifying one. I don't feel like it's more of a soft matte. I think it describes itself that way. The reviews are varied, but mostly good for this foundation. This foundation is vegan as well, which I thought was really good. My notes I've put, it feels very thin, it sets very quickly, and I loved it more when I was oily. I do still love it now, but I don't put it on and think, oh, this is my holy grail, it lasts me all day. My skin is actually veering back to oily, so I wonder if I'll start to enjoy it again more. And I don't know whether it was anything to do with the fact that my skin was oily, why I loved it, and when it was dry, it certainly didn't cling to dry patches or anything, just I didn't feel like it looked as nice. I preferred other foundations, but more recently I have been putting it on and thinking, oh, this is really nice, and it has lasted me well. So it does last well, as does the Laura Mercier one, and yeah, nothing more to say about it than that. I've worn all these foundations in videos before, so I will try and find videos where I had the foundation on and put that, you know, put a side by side for you so you can see the foundation in action. Number 3 on my list is the number 7 Match Made foundation drops. I've got 2. You can see that when I like something, I really like it. Calico and Cool Vanilla. Calico has been my colour in number 7 foundations for years, and I know that I absolutely love the colour. I really like the colours of the number 7 foundations. They're so neutral. I don't find that you ever buy anything that's too orangey or too pink. It all seems to be fairly neutral. You know, even though there are ones that are yellow leaning and pink leaning, it's never too much. So I really like those. Let me give you some swatches here and then I'll tell you about the prices, etc. So foundation drops are ones that are intended to mix with something else, not be used on their own. You can see that this is quite thick. It's not quite as thin as the others. You know, you can put a drop there and it will sort of hold. This is Cool Vanilla. So you've got Calico and Cool Vanilla next to it. So the price is £16 and you do only get this little 15ml for £16, but you only need the tiniest drop. And I don't actually blend this with anything. I did try blending it at first, but I felt that it made it a little bit, it made it too light to medium coverage for me, whatever I mixed it, you know, if I mixed it with foundation, moisturizer or anything like that, it didn't make it as full coverage as I wanted. So I do use just a couple of drops and sort of dot them over my face and blend them in with a beauty blender, and that gives me full coverage. If I'm not careful and I use a little bit too much, it can look cakey, but otherwise it's absolutely fine as long as I use that damp beauty blender or beauty sponge. But if I was going to use something to blend it in with, I don't know if number 7 still do this, but it's called Airbrush Away Radiance Boosting Primer, and I'm not really into primers, but I think this is really, really pretty. It's pink, it turns pink when you put it on. Hopefully you'll be able to see the pinkness, but it's just a really pretty, subtle primer, and it's just enough that you could mix it with a drop of this and it not do much to it. Let me show you how little you'd need. So you can see I've put 2 tiny drops there, and you could mix that and that would make it a lot lighter coverage and it would give it a little bit less of a matte appearance. So that's the swatches. £16 I've told you. The coverage is up to you depending on what you mix it with. No alcohol, no fragrance. It has got parabens in it. 24 shades, so really good shade range. Skin type, I would say again, this is probably good for all skin types, other than I don't know about really dry skin. If you have got dry skin, I think it would work if you mixed it with a moisturising primer. Otherwise, I feel like it might show up dry patches. The reviews of this are really, really good. Yeah, I didn't find barely any bad reviews of this at all, so really good. Love that one. Number 4 on the list is an interesting one because I can tell you now the reviews are bad, and it's the Soap and Glory One Heck of a Blot All Day Liquid to Powder Foundation, but I love this. This is in Cool Sand, so this is one colour down from the top colour. So that's what it's like. It's a thick foundation, it's not a runny one at all. And this is one of, have I written it down? Yeah, there's only 4 shades in this. So if you can get your shade in this, I would definitely recommend trying it. The only thing is, because it's drugstore, I don't think you can go in and, you know, get a tester. There's no way of sampling this unless you took in your own little plastic pot and asked somebody, you know, one of the assistants, if they'd let you use the tester to put some in. Maybe that would be a way. Just simply because there's a lot of people that don't like this, and so I love it doesn't mean that you're going to love it. But let me tell you about it. So it is £10. Medium to full coverage, definitely. More on just the full coverage. You'd really have to shear it out to get a medium coverage. It has got silicone in it, but no perfume, no alcohol. Like I said, there's only 4 shades in it, and I think this would work for all skin types except dry. Again, I think dry, it might just be a little bit too cakey. It dries extremely quick, because the idea is it's a liquid to powder. I do put powder on top of it still, but you don't have very much time to blend this. But I love it. I have never ever put this foundation on and not thought it looks nice, and not thought it looks nice at the end of the day. And there are a couple of people that are in agreement with me. I am certainly not on my own in that crowd, but the reviews on Boots were 2.8 out of 5. So only a little bit over 50% like it, if that makes sense. So have a look at the reviews and see what you think. I mean, the things that people were experiencing, I just didn't get from it. You know, they said that it didn't hold up against their oil, that within an hour it was looking terrible, that they found it really hard to blend. I didn't find any of that. I think it looks really nice, it goes on really nice, and it lasts really, really well. I would say actually this one, let me just make sure I'm telling you the truth here when I look at them all. 1, 2, 3, where's the other one? Oh, the Laura Mercier one. Yeah, this one is the longest lasting out of all of these that I've talked about. The final one on my favourites list was the very first one I thought of to go on the list. And it's this one by Sleek. It is the Lifeproof Foundation, medium to full coverage, sweat proof, oil proof. And I've got two, again, like I said, you can tell the foundations I like because I normally buy them in more than one colour. So this one is in LP01. Let me just wipe that other Soap and Glory swatch off. So LP01 is very light. The only thing is with this one is the colours. I've got it here, colours. Oh, do you know what? It says there's 24 shades, but I've kind of struggled with these shades. So that is LP01. So that is the lightest colour that they do, which I don't think will work for all light tones because it's not neutral to me. That's not a neutral colour. And then the next one is LP04, and there isn't a colour in between LP01 and LP04. It's one of those weird brands that don't, at least I don't think there is, or if there is, it must have been a really odd tone, but I feel like this is the next one down, and it's one of those odd ones that it's not LP01, 02, 03. So I just had to check it online because I was doubting myself there, and there are colours online, LP02 and 03. I think what it is every store I've been into and checked, they only do a small range in the store, because the Sleek stand in Boots, in all of the Boots that I've been to, even the one in Edinburgh, only have a small range of the Sleek makeup. And so I think that's what it is. They're not doing the full range of foundations. So I might be able to find that L2, 02 or 03 is better suited to me, but I have to say I can get away with that 04, even though that looks really dark there. I can wear that again on the first and second day of tanning, and I used this on my dad's wife on her wedding day, and it lasted beautifully and it looked lovely. This one I would say looks the best on screen. It's not necessarily one that I've put on and gone, oh, that looks amazing, but it's when I've watched it back I've gone, oh, that really looks kind of airbrushed. You know, a lot of my videos, I think it's the lighting, because as soon as you turn the lighting off, there's no way my skin looks as good as it does with the lights up. But sometimes I've put foundations on and gone, oh my goodness, that foundation looks terrible. But with this one, I always think it looks really nice on screen. So let me give you details. It is £8.99, so an absolute bargain, because you get 30ml in that, in this tube. You do have to be a bit careful when you take the top off, because it is very, very liquidy. This is one of those that will run down. Oh, you see what I mean? And I've just dripped it over my breakdown renewal letter, never mind. But yeah, you do have to be careful, unlike what I just did, because it can go everywhere. It comes out very, very easily. They could have done with, I don't know, putting it maybe in a jar with a pump, or making the hole smaller, I don't know, something, because every time I use one of these, loads comes out. So £8.99, I would say that it's full coverage. It says medium to full. Again, you could probably sheer it out with a damp beauty blender. 24 shades, which is really good, but I think the shades are a bit odd. Like I said, that one is the highest, the lightest shade you can get. That's LP01, and I don't think many people will, you know, I think there's a lot of people that would need a lot lighter than that, or a lot more yellow than that, or a lot more neutral than that. I just think that's a really odd colour. It's very pinky, isn't it? Skin type, I would say it's great for oily to normal skin. I don't know about dry skin. And the reviews on this, there was 3.5 out of 5 on Boots, which I think, tell me if you're the same, I think we're getting really fussy now with reviews. And certainly when I'm looking at something, it's almost like if there's one negative review, I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. You know, it's almost like I expect something to have a 5 out of 5 in order for me to buy it. Obviously, that's not the case, because I do buy these things, but 3.5 out of 5, I'm not sure what I think. There is a few people that obviously don't get on with this, but a lot of people that do. So these are my 5 favourite foundations, and if I had to choose one of them out of these 5, it would be the Soap and Glory one, which is really bizarre considering it gets such bad reviews, but I really, really enjoy it. I'm just a bit limited. You can see I've only got one colour in that, because the colour above it and the colour below it, one's way, way too dark, and one is just a really, really odd colour, I think. So If not the Soap and Glory, I would probably go with the number 7 one, because I really like the colours. So I've got things about each one that are favourite. So the sleek one I would say is the best on camera. It looks the nicest. This Laura Mercier one gives such a full coverage with just the lightest layer, and it doesn't feel, this is probably the least cakiest feeling, the Laura Mercier one. The number 7 one, I like the colours. That's my favourite colour range because they're so sort of neutral. The Soap and Glory one, I think I would would be my preferred one if I was back working in an office, and I think I did actually use this when I was in the NHS, because I feel like it lasts no matter what I'm doing. I can go to the gym and whatnot and it's still there and it still looks good. And the Bare Minerals one is more, this feels a bit more comforting on the skin. It feels like skincare. It's a real luxury feeling foundation, you know. So those are my 5 favourites. Let me talk about some fails. I've got 4 to show you, and there's probably a lot of other fails that I could show you, but these are ones that I have recently bought. So this first one, the collection Lasting Perfection, this is the cheapest one. I think this was $5.99, something like that. I have never tried it before, but it has got quite good reviews online. I liked the colour. I thought the colour was really nice. What is this in? Warm beige. And yeah, I thought it was nice. I put it on, I thought it looked nice, but then when I got out I went into the car, because I was actually, when I put it on and I thought how nice it looked, I wrote it down with a question mark as could this be in the possible favourites. But when I got in the car, literally about an hour later and looked in the mirror, it was all sort of breaking up already, and I was like, oh no, that is terrible. And actually I sort of wiped my nose like that, and the foundation all sort of moved and looked terrible, and I was like, this is just not good. So I think I'm coming to the conclusion that really inexpensive foundations just don't work, because I tried that other one, do you remember, from Natural Collection in Boots, and that one was pretty terrible too. Not to say drugstore ones don't work, but just, you know, dirt cheap ones don't seem to work for me. Next, I had high hopes in this. This is the number 7 Stay Perfect foundation, because, well, you can see I like the number 7 Match Made drops. I should have mentioned that I do like the number 7 Hydroluminous foundation. That one is more of a light to medium coverage, and I think it's beautiful, but it has retinol palmitate in it, which is why it wouldn't be a repurchase for me. But I don't think I've ever tried any number 7 foundations and not enjoyed them. If you've been with me a long time, you may remember that I was obsessed with their mousse foundation at one point. And there's only 2 colours in it, but I absolutely adored their mousse foundation. So I got this because I was looking up dupes for Estee Lauder Double Wear, because I do like the Estee Lauder Double Wear, but obviously once it's gone I won't repurchase it, and this had been suggested, and so I thought I'd give it a go. I hadn't tried it before. I got it in Calico probably. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is Calico, so let me show you. It feels lovely going on. It's a really nice, you know, fairly thin, not runny, but fairly, not creamy feeling, you know, fairly thin consistency. And loved the colour, loved how it looked on. Again, thought this might have been a contender, but a few hours later, it just didn't last on me. It just looked cakey, it was separating, it was gathering in lines, and just for me it didn't work. I was really surprised at this. I totally expected this to work, and I totally expect that saying this on screen, a lot of you will say that you love this foundation and it works really well for you, but for whatever reason it just didn't for me. I'm actually going to keep this one because I know that I like number 7 foundations. It wasn't cheap. I think it was $14.99, something like that. And like I said, my skin can be at different stages, and so I want to try it again another time and see if I think the same thing. The next 2 you will have seen on Instagram with the Laura Mercier one, because I bought the 3 of them together from, I think it was Feel Unique, and I bought the Cover FX. I was really excited about this Cover FX Power Play, and this is in P30. Now again, I bought this on sale. It's normally pretty expensive, but this colour was on sale, and so I just chose that colour because I had no idea. I've never used a Cover FX foundation before, other than I did use the drops when they were out. I think that's a beautiful colour. I think it looks beautiful on, but again, it's the same story with all of these. Again, it just looked terrible within a couple of hours. I don't know whether it's just because it's so hot and humid lately why some of these foundations are not standing up to the test, but it just didn't look great. And I had seen most people love this. I think most people get on with this. It's another one I'm going to put with my number 7 and try again maybe in winter and see if my, you know, if my face likes it better then. But it just didn't look good at all. But I did see one, I can't remember her name, I've not been watching her for very long, but she said she didn't get on with it, and what she said was she thought it looked absolutely beautiful until you put powder products on top of it. So she didn't find that you could put blush and bronze and anything like that on top of it. I didn't have any problem with that. It just didn't last on me at all. The final one was super cheap. I think this was £6. The colour, I think I did actually choose the colour, is 2.0. It's very yellow. And I was really excited about this. Very, very thick feeling. You put it on and you're like, oh, that's full coverage. You know, it feels really thick, which I'm not sure I love. But then I think, well, I was going to say the Estee Lauder Double Wear is like that, but it's not, is it? It's still quite liquidy. I think I prefer the ones that are a bit more, you know, that you can put a drop and it runs down, rather than these creamy types. But actually no, because the Soap and Glory one is not running like that, and that's, like I said, probably my favourite. Anyway, EX1, I had nearly bought this before because I read about it. I think there was an advert for it, to be honest with you, and I thought that sounds amazing, but it was just because it was so cheap and I really wanted to try some new foundations. And with this one, the Cover Play, is it called Cover Play? Power Play by Cover FX, and the Laura Mercier, I had quite a range of colours. Tried this, it looked nice. It didn't look amazing, but again, it just looked terrible within a few hours. And so I have only tried these two once, and actually the number 7 Stay Perfect one. I've only tried all of these once. In fact, the Lasting collection, I actually couldn't wait to get off my face. I came home and took my makeup off, even though it was still only mid-morning, because it just looked so terrible. So I'm not trying this one again, but I should maybe try these again. Let me know, what do you think? How many times do you use the foundation before you decide that it's not for you? You know, I don't think once is enough. I think you need to try it a couple of times, and maybe I need to wait until, like I said, it's not quite so hot. It's very, very humid here at the moment, and give them all a try again. Especially since, remember, I am using the serum by Dr. Sam and loving it. And like I said, I feel like it's making my foundation actually look a little bit better. But it is, I've got really dry bits in the corners of my nose here, and my skin is definitely drying out a little bit from the azelaic acid. And so that could be having an effect, you know, that my skin is drier than normal. Anyway, that is everything for my faves and fails. So I hope that was useful to you. Let me know your thoughts on all of these. I should say that I'm not one to wear a primer underneath the foundation. And again, maybe I should say, well, try it with a primer and see if that helps. I've just never really been into primers. I love this Radiance one, but not for holding anything in place, you know. Just feel like if your skincare is good enough, then you shouldn't need a primer. And if I couldn't find any foundation that worked for me, then I might start thinking maybe you need to look at primers. But because I've got the ones here, you know, the 5 favourites that do work, that do stay on my skin, that don't all break up, then I feel like it's the foundation, it's not the fact that I'm not wearing a primer, if that makes sense. So yeah, anyway, like I said, I hope this was useful to you. I've told you what foundation I've got on. On my eyes is MAC Melon Pigment. On my cheeks is the Bare Minerals blush in that peach though. On my lips is Stila liquid lipstick in Caramello. And earrings are from Accessorize. Top is from Esprit. And that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.